Hello and welcome to my video. Today we're going to be talking about opening a watch, and you may just want to go in and replace your battery, or you may want to see what's going on, if it's quit working or whatever. I will warn you that watches are incredibly difficult to work on, but getting into them is not that bad. There are two types of watch cases you're probably going to run into. This is what we call the case, the actual body of the watch. And the two types you're going to run into are this one, which is called a snapback, and this one, which is called a screwback. Now, the tools that you use are a little bit different. The snapback literally just snaps on and off, and you use what's called a watch knife for that. This little guy is not sharp. I mean, I guess you could hurt yourself with it if you got stupid, but it's not really sharp. It's made to slide into the back of the case and pop the back off, and we'll get to that in just a second. The second type, the screwback, uses this tool. Now this tool uses little bits. Let me get a couple out and show you. Since there are different kinds of backs, each one of these has a different type tip on it. Now some of them are flat and angled. Some of them are just little pins like this one. And you take whatever kind you decide you're going to use. Like on this one we're going to need some pins, and they have little square pins on some of them, so we can take that and then find the others like that, and then there's a third one. So then you just take that and slide that in there. So now we have 3 pins, and the rest of these we'll move off to the side because we don't need them right now. Now, one thing to watch out for is there are snapbacks that look like screwbacks. This one I picked particularly because of that. You notice it has this flat land pattern back here where it looks like something could grab onto here and twist it. There are watches that have these flat lands on the back that you use this kind of tool to grab onto those lands and twist. This particular one is a snapback, and you do not twist it off. If you try and twist it off, all you'll wind up doing is just twisting it forever, and it'll never come off. So don't worry about hurting that. One of these, the screwbacks are generally on nicer watches, particularly on waterproof, and they screw and snug down, sometimes have an O-ring behind them. If you attempt to pry these off, that can get really bad. If you succeed, you will have stripped the back and will no longer be able to use the watch case. Be careful. Don't ever try this on a very high-end watch, because the very, very high-end watches might actually be gold, and gold will come off very easily. And when I say that, I mean the threads will come off. So yeah, you don't want to do that. If in doubt, always try to unscrew the case first. And if that doesn't work and you get nowhere, then try and snap it off. So let's start with the snapback case. Snapback cases, there's a seam, and that seam runs right in here. Now, yeah, I guess it's possible. I haven't run into any where the seam could be there, but then you wouldn't really have enough room to get the entire movement and stuff out. So always look for a seam right around in here. So what you do is you take the sharper edge of your case knife and you slide it into that seam. Now sometimes it'll just barely sit in there, and I kind of tend to wiggle it back and forth a little bit to make sure it's seated. I like to get right here so I've got something to pry into. And so I'm going to make a motion like prying like this. And the whole time I'm pushing in towards the watch. Now be careful, don't push too hard, because if you slip, you could hit your finger. And I said this is not sharp, but if you hit your finger with enough force with this, it will hurt. And it very well could cut you. So that's why I like working right here, so that I can kind of pry and push. And we're going to try that. We're going to try that now. I'm going to pry and push in, and there it went. Now, I don't know if you heard the little pop, but I'm going to stop and show you. Now, right here, that is got a big gap there. And at this point, it'll just pop right open. So that's how you get a snapback off. Now, this one, you'll notice has an O-ring right there. Now, we want to be careful of that, and when you go to put it back on, make sure that the O-ring didn't come out, pop out, or whatever. Now, most snapbacks are fairly easy, and you just grab it with 2 fingers. Now, I will warn you, try and stay off of the crystal. Don't put a whole lot of pressure right here. So I always go right on the edge here, right on the edge there, here, there, snap. Okay? Now, there are ones that you can't do that to. They just will not push back on. So what I do in that case is I use this little guy. Now, this tool technically is meant for putting crystals in watches, pressing them back in. The crystal is the glass piece on the front, glass, plastic. So what you do, you pop this back off. Let's assume for the sake of conversation I can't push this down. You take this little guy, you take a very large piece, because these pieces come off, and then go back up. So you take a very large piece on the bottom, and then a smaller piece on the top, doesn't really matter. You slide the watch in there like that, and then you just turn this piece, the top piece, until you hear it pop. And I already did, so it's not a big deal. Pull that out, and your snapback is done. Okay? Now, the next one that we're going to do is this one. Now, there are 2 ways to get screwbacks off. Screwbacks sometimes can get very difficult to get off. But if they're not, you use just the neatest little tool in the world, which is this little rubber ball. This is a special rubber ball. This is not something you go down and you buy at the department store or the toy store. It's very, very sticky, even after you wash it repeatedly. And its job in life is to go against the watch back like this. You push and you twist. Okay? You get these from watch repair places. There's tons of them online. They're very cheap. So you grab this, you push in, and you twist, and you twist, and you twist, and the back comes off. It's that simple. Okay? You can also use that to put the watch back on. And the way I do this is I twist back until I get it seated. And it's being difficult. There we go. And then twist forward to tighten it. And using this tool, I try and tighten it very tight until I just can't tighten it anymore, because this tool just can't get that tight. Now let's assume for the sake of conversation that that little ball will not get this off. It's too tight. You push, you twist, it goes nowhere. That's when you get this little guy into the equation. So you may notice right here it has little grooves, little notches that are cut out. That's where we want to put these little pins. So you get all the pins facing in to each other. And what I mean by that is if you look very, very close, I don't know that you'll be able to see this, but let's see. If you get very, very close, you should be able to notice that these pins are at an angle. See that one right there? Okay. I want all of them facing towards the center of this tool, right here in the center. And once I do that, I take one of these pins and I put it in a notch. It doesn't really matter which notch I put it in. And then I attempt to put another one in a notch and another one in a notch. And that's going to be almost impossible for you to see. But hold it like this, and you can unscrew the little handle, this little handle here, unscrew that and screw it in until you get them to where they're all more or less in a notch. Now, the other thing that this will do is it allows you to get those closer and further apart. So if you find that your first two notches don't line up, you can use this to get those first two in, and then the third one, you use this, and then you twist. And there it went. Alright, so now once you've got that broken, you can use your little ball to continue on, and off you go. Now, one thing to watch for, which I just did, so I'll show you, is when you're doing that, it's very common to hit the strap and knock it off. So when you do that, when you need to use a case tool like this, even though I didn't, I will recommend that you always remove the strap first. And then we're going to put this little guy back on. This is an old beat up watch, so it takes a little while to get it. There we go. Okay. And that's it. That's all there is to opening and closing most watches that you're going to run into these days. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, go to www.allens-stuff.com or click on the website link that you'll see over on the side, and drop me a line using the contact form and I'll see what I can do. I will warn you, I am not a horologist. That's a watch repair guy. I do this as kind of a hobby, but I'll be glad to try and help if I can, or at least point you in the right direction. And you'll also find a bunch of links and stuff on the website. That's it. Have a great one. Bye.